Welcome to today's webinar focused on eliminating unpleasant surprises in your forecasting. But first, some introductions. My name is Dan Connery, and I'm the Director of Product Marketing here at eBuilder. I've had the privilege of working with architects, engineers, contractors, and owners over the last 23 years while working for companies such as Primavera, Newforma, and now eBuilder. Joining me today is Dan, a Senior Solutions Engineer here at eBuilder. Dan's been working with eBuilder for 14 years, working closely with many of our customers to ensure a successful implementation of the eBuilder platform. For the last 4 years, he has focused on helping potential customers on their journey to becoming actual customers. So for our agenda today, we will start with an overview of eBuilder and how we work with customers across the entire life cycle of their capital improvement program. We will then talk about the before and after picture of forecasting, and that's a section Dan will take you through. And we will finish by answering as many questions as possible in the time that we have remaining. To date, our customers have managed over $300 billion in capital improvements through our platform. Most of our customers start their journey with eBuilder using paper and Microsoft Excel to manage their capital improvement programs. They recognize this ad hoc method is not scalable and is resulting in projects over budget and behind schedules with far too many surprises. They realized they needed a centralized program management system, resulting in the implementation of eBuilder. As they progress in their journey with eBuilder, they automated their numerous processes, resulting in a fully integrated program management system. One of our customers leveraged over $70 million in savings from active projects to fund a new project several years ahead of schedule. A different customer reduced their approval times from 16 to 2 days, and in one instance processed the change order approval between 3 different companies across 3 different physical locations in under 35 minutes. And finally, we had a third customer who had their volume of annual construction expenditures triple without the need to add any additional staff. And we are proud that our customers are recognized as top performers. So a little bit about the platform itself. eBuilder will become the system of record of all project information. We designed the system in this way for you as owners, how you do your business, not the other way around. We provide robust capabilities to manage all of your projects. Intelligent forms allow you to collect information you need that can be routed through an automated workflow. App Exchange connects your accounting and other enterprise systems, eliminating duplicate data entry. You can manage program and project costs, starting with capital planning through estimating to construction baseline and changes. The robust document management system enables automated version control and audit trail. We provide value across the entire project lifecycle, including capital planning, design, procurement and bidding, construction, and facility operations. We provide you data-driven insights into the health of your project so you can make informed decisions. There are 3 main capabilities, starting with industry-leading business intelligence capability for rich, executive-ready graphical visualizations, drill-through dashboards, and simple tabular reporting, much like Microsoft Excel. All of these capabilities are delivered to you in your choice of interface, be it your favorite internet browser, iOS or Android, or even just email. I will now hand it over to Dan to take us through the current state of forecasting and how eBuilder eliminates unpleasant surprises. Dan, it's all yours.
Owners of capital projects know that every project starts with a good plan. And when we put it all down on paper, we've heard that typically projects follow an S-curve where cost grows over the life of the project. It has an approved budget that the owner must rely upon because they received the approved funds to go forward. However, according to research conducted by Dodge Data Analytics of over 200 owners and their thousands of individual projects, 85% indicate that they experience projects that exceed original cost and schedule. And what happens here is that the project experienced an issue. Because project information is so disjointed and is stored in disparate systems and or spreadsheets, the issue caused an impact. Over time, that issue left an irrevocable cost and schedule impact that could not be made up without change orders. And as a result, the project was completed not only late, but also over budget, creating a loss for the owner. Now, why is this? often it's caused by everyone using different applications. The general contractor, an architect, or engineer use their own applications they need to manage their work. The owner's project manager is using Microsoft Excel to manage the budget of the project and keep lists of change order requests. And then it's transferred over to the VP. In fact, some owners have shared with me that they have well-defined standard operating procedures, and their internal process to collect the data and normalize it all is well documented, and they utilize Excel templates to collect the information. But it's all manually driven. And this leads to what I like to call stale data. And by the time the VP and board receive the data, it's just frankly outdated and you can't always trust it. The other trouble that comes into play is when they all have to communicate with one another. Contractors email costs and schedules via email to the owner PM. The owner PM has to concatenate multiple spreadsheets and export into his master Excel spreadsheet, and then emails them to his boss, who then tries to produce reports that are pretty enough for the CFO and the board to view during executive meetings. The data is prone to errors and omission, and it's not real time. So it makes decision-making to course correct very difficult. And this process is often so painful and labor-intensive, it starts to create information silos on the project. Now just multiply this across all the projects that an owner has to manage, and it becomes easy to see why it is so hard to drive consistency and productivity across the entire capital program. I've heard that there are dedicated FTE staff at owner organizations that are hired to specifically aggregate and normalize the data all day to help offset the errors and the time it would otherwise take for the owner PM to do it themselves. Owner PMs need to focus their time on higher priority activities, not spending wasteful time manipulating data and spreadsheets. The other story I heard from a municipality in Florida that's worth mentioning is that each owner PM starts to do things a little bit differently, which is fine at first. However, what first was a few small manipulated set of cells and columns in Excel morphs into every owner PM doing it their own methodical way. And now we have no conformity or standardization. These support staff have to then manually aggregate all the data one by one coming from these different data sets and create a bunch of manually driven charts and generate them into a prepared report format to the boss, the VP of Design and Construction, who in turn uses these slides or files to then communicate project performance to the board. Results: decentralized information, inconsistent processes, wasted time monkeying around with data for reporting, unclear accountability, and ultimately, project surprises. I'll share another story with you. A city ran into these types of issues. Their Parks and Recreation group developed a new park spanning 46 acres as part of a bond program. And the initial estimate did not include specific amenities on the project description under which the bond was sold. This wasn't caught by the team and was misrepresented in a series of spreadsheets. And so the project management team and public communities were not meeting regularly and instead relied on old and outdated reports. And what happened were these committees or user groups made incorrect assumptions. A frontage sidewalk was assumed to be included, and this resulted in a project overrun of about $114,000. And if the project status was more readily available, it could have saved valuable staff time, consultant time, keep the project intact, and mitigate or eliminate these change order expenses. There simply has to be a better way. And I'm here today to share a better tomorrow. eBuilder Enterprise is a construction program management solution for capital projects that improves project outcomes by delivering trusted and real-time insight into potential and pending changes, improving the overall forecast process. So let's switch over to eBuilder Enterprise and demonstrate live in the product. You'll notice up at the top a bunch of modules that represent eBuilder Enterprise. And in this webinar, we're going to focus on dashboards, processes, cost, and report modules. So this right here is a process in the processes module configured in eBuilder using our built-in workflow designer. So let's pretend this is your new change management process where you configured a fully collaborative environment where you let your contractors fill out potential change orders directly in eBuilder Enterprise. Now, each step on this diagram follows your specific process, and the system, in this case, does all of the heavy lifting. It knows who to send it to, when based on an action taken by the user. And this process is integrated with the cost module. I'm going to repeat that. The process is integrated with the cost module. It's a built-in integration link that happens based on your defined process. So essentially, as this process is executed, the cost summary screen in eBuilder Enterprise Cost Management module, which, by the way, replaces your manual spreadsheets, is automatically updated. So let me explain how this all works. So your contractor can log into eBuilder Enterprise, and they can fill out like a potential change order form. And in that form, they can enter in, say, for example, a rough order of magnitude for $10,000. And that's all done on the start step in this diagram right here. Now, based on this workflow, it will then send you an email notification automatically that you can access and determine if this is real or bogus. And as soon as you decide this is a real item, the process can then update your cost sheet real time. I've highlighted in green, yellow, and blue the columns impacted by this workflow in eBuilder Enterprise Financial Summary screen. And the projected and pending commitment change definitions are arbitrary. What's nice is you decide through the configuration of the process where projected and pending values hit these columns. So let's just take that example. Let's say for simplicity's sake that as soon as you say this is a real item and you take your action in the process, it updates the projected column. So let's just say this is a construction related event and it's related to the contractor. So $10,000 would automatically increment here and go from 155 to 165 and change. Now, as this process is routed in the defined process here, we determine when the commitment change becomes pending. So as you can see here, there's a bunch of different steps, and you get to define at what point in these steps it becomes officially pending. And typically what I hear from other clients is that when the item is routed for signature, it becomes a pending item. Maybe you've negotiated down to say maybe $7,000. Then what happens is, if I switch back over, that $10,000 that incremented here is just going to automatically flow from there to the column called pending commitment changes in yellow, and it's going to go up 7K over here. All right. Now, eventually, you might approve it at, say, 5K. So then it moves to the approved commitment change column for the remaining 5,000. So it moves out of here and moves automatically into here. And that, again, this is done automatically for every PCO on every project in a real-time capacity. As all this is being done, you can clearly see in the screen and in the reports and dashboards if we're going over budget or not. Do we have enough contingency to cover this? The automatic over-under calculations will inform us of that. So if you think about it, the traditional model of having to manually compile, aggregate, normalize spreadsheets by the project manager on the owner side is taking out of the equation. And now the system is doing all that heavy lifting and making real-time updates for you as these potential change orders are executed. The VP of Design and Construction gets a real-time business intelligence project scorecard that, in this case, shows a graphical representation of the forecast in a green, yellow, or red status. You can see it right here, those three thresholds, if you will. And in this example, we're showing an over threshold, and it's a red flag. So these types of dashboards are great because it takes all the manual generation steps required that I mentioned earlier out of the equation. Now, high-paid decision makers can focus on higher priority activities, like in this case, focusing in on what they can do to resolve the overage. Switching gears, eBuilder provides a standard 7-step query by example report writer, and included in our best practice out-of-the-box 120 report library is a report like this where we instantly flag in red when specific projects in these kinds of programs are going over budget. So if I scroll top down, you can see this has happened to be grouped by different types of programs. And you can see in red when over and yellow when it's approaching that threshold, and green when it's at or under budget. And all these thresholds are definable and configurable in this report wizard. So again, this is real-time information. Executives can also receive these types of reports automatically in their inbox on a certain frequency of their choosing, and drill down capabilities exist where you can drill in further to understand why there's an issue. So if I was to take a look at some of these, I could see this one's going way over budget. If I was to drill down, you can see that these are links available. So the concept is start at a 20,000 foot level from the dashboard, drill down into these reports, And then from these reports, you can get down to the ground foot level very quickly. So if I look at maybe this item here, it's about 63 and change worth of contracts and purchase orders. Why is that? If I click on it, it then brings me into the project. I'm now in the project, happen to be in the Claude project, and now I'm on the left navigation. I happen to be looking at the list of contracts and purchase orders that make up that 63 million and change. So scrolling from the top down, I can see them all listed in here very clearly with their different statuses and amounts. So if I wanted to drill down further, maybe this one right here, this happens to be the large general construction contract. It has about $3 million plus worth of change orders. I'd like to know why that is. So again, I can drill down even further. And now I'm looking at all of the detail schedule values that make up this contract. This happens to be a vertical build. And then I can see in here all of the change orders and their region codes and their various statuses, including the projected and pending items, as you can see in here. So it gives me a very clear picture of not only what's approved, but I can then filter down on those that are pending and projected to take a look at my forecast amounts and understand, well, why is all this stuff going potentially over budget? I don't have enough in contingency. I need to figure out how to resolve this and have communication earlier rather than later. Here are all the pay apps listed in here. Happens to be the physical contract that also is signed and loaded and stored as well in our document repository. So the takeaway, you can start at a very high level, deal with exception-based dashboarding at a 20,000 foot level, and then drill down into very specific detail with just a few clicks. So it makes it very easy for the executive, the VP of Design and Construction, to manage by exception and then get into the detail where they need to potentially put out some fires as a result of consuming the information. The other function I want to share with you today is the budget forecasting tool set. And so what you see here is our owner-client project managers are exposing potential risk items to calculate the estimate at completion. And this includes not only the potential changes we went over earlier, but also any other issues that you might feel is creeping up that can impact the bottom line. Examples like scope creep, field conditions, etc. And eBuilder Enterprise then does all real-time communication for you. As these forecasts are published, it automatically feeds into the cost summary screen for the project with a new estimate at completion and into those dashboards and reports. So no longer is the executive team looking at errors and omissions and or stale data when making decisions. As you can see here in this example, I opened up the general construction line item and entered in some forecast items that potentially brought this estimate at completion higher than the original and current budget, which gives us that exposure, which then adds up to the over-under calculation in the dashboards and reports. So let's recap. Instead of that messy picture of project management via Excel, the picture is much more clear. The capital projects department and you, as our leader in this, is in the center. You have your departments all on the same system getting access to all information pertaining to budget forecasting. Then key information is made available on the same platform to your internal stakeholders, from dashboards, reports, to the board. And then in a secure fashion, bi-directional communication information flow to all of your external contractors, and your CMs and PMs manage detailed costs and potential changes. And then all of that information flow is managed through a business process management system that is smart enough to know what is the status and the forecast exposure, who has to approve it next, and how it impacts the bottom line. And all of this is on a program management platform where all information is safe, stored, and accessible 24/7 that is owned by you. So I hope you came to some conclusions today and realized there might be a better way out there.
So the first question we have is, what happens when the actual contract or change comes in? Do you have to go back in and adjust the forecast?
Let me go back to that screen. There's a committed checkbox that you can check off when you know it's been committed. This way, you can easily take out the projection. And more importantly, at the same time, what you do is you keep the entry there for historical review purposes. So what our clients are telling us is that as they're saving those baseline forecasts and the forecasts over time as it's being committed on either a monthly or biweekly basis. They commit it, and then they want to make sure that they can see what has been committed over the course of time. So that's why that exists there. But it's very simple to do. It's just a checkbox.
All right, great. So another question is, my organization has a different set of approval steps than the one you presented. How does eBuilder address the need for different business flows?
Yeah, let me switch over to the workflow diagram here. So that's a good question. I mean, we recognize that each organization has a different organizational structure and different approval thresholds. I mean, I run into it time and time again. I've had the opportunity not only to be in the position I'm in now, but also implement eBuilder over many years. And every time I walk into an owner organization and start going through discovery and design, it's always going to be different. The flow's just always different. And in the implementation process, one of the things that we do is we provide some administrative training where folks like you and your organization can learn to tweak existing and build workflows from scratch using this drag and drop designer. So my point to you is that it's completely configurable through this experience here, and we can teach you basically how to fish. So a couple of takeaways. One is you can define this workflow any way you want. This is just an example. And two, we teach you how to build and maintain and tweak existing workflows and build from scratch new ones. Just our last user conference that occurred at the end of last year in September, October timeframe, there was north of 400 different folks that showed up, and they were sharing their different workflows, and every single one of them are different. And a lot of them built in the neighborhood of 20, 30 plus workflows on their own after the initial implementation. So we support your process, and it's configurable to meet those needs.
Great. So we have a question from a mobile user. So they want to know, can these changes be reviewed and or approved on my tablet or phone?
Yes, eBuilder Mobile is offered on the Android and Apple stores as a free download. And as part of the experience in the mobile devices, you're able to initiate, review, and approve from your mobile device. So if we take some of those examples we went through and we look at this potential change order, as soon as it hits one of your steps where you'll get notified because you're an actor on that step, it'll notify you. And then through your mobile device, you're able to take action, review it, look at the attached documents, make some comments, and then make it go into the next step in the workflow. It's all seamless. Then the next folks that are automatically notified, and it just moves through the workflow. So the mobile devices are available for you to do the exact same thing you would do normally on the standard interface.
Perfect. Another question, signatures are required for change management at our organization. Can eBuilder deal with these signatures?
Yeah, so, the word signature, when I hear that, it can take different forms in eBuilder Enterprise. Some organizations that we speak with tell us that the action that the user takes is good enough for a signature. In the audit history section, we display that. So let me just show you what I mean. If I was to open up and move into the processes module where there's an actual filled out form, we can open up these guys and we can see very clearly the actions that were taken in the audit history. So if I was to show the history, so this happens to be an amendment process that's configured in the system. As you can see, I'm the actor in all these steps. You'd see each and every actor, as well as the current actors and all the data fields that have been updated. So, not only do we give that kind of capability, as you can see here, you would potentially see like John Doe with an action of approved. That is sometimes good enough with legal departments. But however, what we also have, other organizations, what they want is they prefer an actual drag and drop experience of their signature. And we partner with DocuSign and provide an electronic signature experience. And this is built into our workflow, and it's seamless, again, to the end user. So when they take an action, they are prompted to drag their signature into the document. So, now we have a few more minutes, I'm just going to show you how that works. If I was to, in this case, I'm the actor on this particular step, and I open up the workflow diagram. So I could show you, this is a very simple workflow, but if I opened it up and I scroll over here, you can see it's in the AE signature step. Let's just say I'm the AE and I'm going to send it over to the VP for signature. And it's required in the system through DocuSign integration to drag and drop my signature into a document in order to proceed and send it over to the VP. So when I come back into this workflow screen and I hit send to VP and take the action, what will happen is it'll actually prompt me to review and sign the document. So I'll click this link and it'll open up a screen where it will automatically provide me the capability to drag and drop my actual signature into the document. So if I hit the continue button, I can see here, if I scroll top down, you can see in here, here's where there's signatures. I can just literally hit the signature box, grab it, drop it where I need to sign it, and that's it. It's as simple as that. So again, we provide signatures in different flavors, but the takeaway for you is that depending on your legal department and what can go and what isn't permissible will depend on the different features that we provide for you. So there's some flexible options, and through dialogue directly with our team, we can determine the best fit.
Thank you, Dan. To wrap things up, I wanted to remind everyone that eBuilder is a full program management information system. In today's webinar, we reviewed how to eliminate unpleasant surprises in your forecast. We focused on the construction phase of the project lifecycle. During Dan's presentation, he demonstrated how cost management is supported by many other areas within eBuilder. He also showed you the click-through dashboard capabilities and how they provided executives with a rich graphical representation of program health and called to their attention any possible risks. He showed you how you can leverage forms to collect information. He showed how you can leverage forms to collect estimated project costs, as well as how to leverage workflows to improve the cost impact review process. While answering a question about electronic signatures, he showed you App Exchange, where eBuilder integrated with DocuSign, a third-party electronic signature solution. As you can see, we covered only a small part of the overall eBuilder platform today. For those interested in immediately learning more about how eBuilder can help your organization, please visit www.e-builder.net and click the Request a Demo button in the upper right corner. Or you can email Kunal at the email address on your screen. Again, thank you for joining us today.